All members will please come to the chamber. All members will please come to the chamber and get ready to take your seats. The hour of convening having arrived, all members will please take their seats. Mr. Clerk, will you please ring the bell? We're going to have the morning roll call. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machines? You got Emery, Carey? Yes, thank you. Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machines. Doorkeepers, will you please close the doors and keep them closed? As is our custom, we will begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by Elaine's husband, the gentleman from the 31st House District, Representative Emery Donahue. Representative Donahue.
Thank you, Speaker. And she did behave, so we made 43 last Thursday. I knew some of you would like that. It's my privilege to be here and introduce my pastor. But each year, we've had the opportunity to give each one of you this devotional book. And hopefully you're spending time every morning with our Lord in His Word. With this, there was a representative named Paul Battles who started giving these once every 2 years devotional books, and he asked if I would continue. Been blessed to do that. And this year, Barry Fleming helped, with the payment of these books. So I challenge you, my pastor is in this book. But if we look at this, if we spend 5 minutes in our morning time, look how much we have in a 24-hour day that we should be in God's Word. This here starts our day off and our week off. So always remember that, and I thank you for the opportunity to share this with you. Jeff Crook and his wife Becky lives in Beaufort, Georgia, with their 2 children, Macy and Josiah. He became the lead pastor of Christ Place Church in November of 2003. God is blessed by adding over 4,000 new members, and today Christ Place has a membership of over 8,000. During that time, now listen to this, Christ Place has created more than 3,000 baptisms. Jeff is a graduate of Baptist College of Florida and New Orleans Baptist Seminary, and he has served as pastor of 4 Southern Baptist churches since 1993. 5 years ago, Pastor Crook was here, and he spoke on standing tall while on your knees. That's praying for your brothers and your sisters. Pastor Jeff Crook.
Thank you, Big. Appreciate you. Well, good morning. It's a joy to be here today to take a few moments to open up God's Word and hear the Bible read and have prayer together. I want to talk just a few moments about you as a leader. You are leaders in this room, and leadership is influence. And you have an awesome responsibility to steward that influence. So you need wisdom, you need discernment, you need courage. You need to be praying leaders. And I want to just speak a second or two about leaders who pray. When you think about prayer, sometimes folks will say, prayer is powerful. But really, prayer is not powerful. God is powerful. See, when you pray, you're praying to God, the Creator, the Sustainer, the one who controls this world. So when we pray, we're praying to Him. And leaders need to know how to connect with God in prayer. You're not alone as leaders. Many leaders in the Bible, they were men and women of prayer. Some you know from childhood days when you would hear about the leader Moses and how he led millions of people. You have a responsibility to give servant leadership to millions in our beloved state of Georgia. And Moses was a man of prayer. Some kings by the name of David and Solomon, they both were men of prayer. Solomon, in fact, would often ask God for wisdom. He would pray that God would give him a wise and discerning heart. I think about another man that was a leader, like many of you men and women in this room. His name was Nehemiah, and he had an awesome task in front of him. Jerusalem, the city of God, was in great disrepair, and they were living with broken gates and walls, and no one could lead to get that project done. But Nehemiah led, and he led on his knees in prayer. He would pray constantly to ask God for wisdom, and a project that could never be done for years and years was completed in just over 50 days because of the favor of God that was on the prayers of Nehemiah. Leaders in the New Testament are called the apostles. They walked with Jesus for 3.5 years, and they were so impressed with the leadership of Jesus. One time they said, Jesus, would you teach us to pray? And when they asked Jesus to teach them to pray, this is what Jesus said to those leaders. This is how you pray. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we have forgiven our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. It would surprise me if there's somebody in this room that would not know the Lord's Prayer. But you know, you could also call it the leader's prayer. I don't know what your daily practice of prayer is like, but may I give a humble suggestion to you today that you can't improve on praying the Lord's Prayer to God every day. It's the perfect balanced prayer. As you look at the lines of the Lord's Prayer, it starts with praise. Hallowed be your name. And when you pray, you're praying to God. You're not praying to the big man upstairs. Don't you say that. That's irreverent. That's disrespectful. He's not the big man upstairs. He's holy God. He's the God that created everything and created every person. And we hallow His name. We recognize His name is holy. And as you continue to pray the Lord's Prayer, notice priorities. Your kingdom come. Your will be done. You have an assignment as men and women of the house. We need to know the will of God for this beloved state. And we want to pray that we're always in God's will. So make prayer the priority of knowing God's will. Also provision. Give us this day our daily bread. It's difficult to pray that today when you can pull out a credit card to buy something. But back in Bible days, they didn't have credit cards. They lived from sunrise to sunset by the daily bread that God would put in their hands. And God is our source. And I know you men and women are very busy in your schedules and demands, and you need the power of God in your life. And learn to trust God for whatever need is back home with your spouse or your children or your grandchildren or the community that you serve. God is your source. Pray for personal relationships. When we get this right, everything gets right. He said, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Don't let bitterness creep into your life. Don't allow sideways energy in this house. We get sideways with one another with grudges and ugly bitterness that will destroy us. And we can never move forward when we're not united. So a good part of this prayer is learning to forgive other people. He says, pray for protection. Lead us not into temptation. You have a great role as a leader. You want to finish strong. Think about men and women that once served alongside you here and other places. Maybe they didn't finish the race. Maybe they did something stupid. Did you know what sin will cause you to do? Sin will cause you to do stupid things. The Bible says, stay on the paths of righteousness. And as we pray this prayer, we're praying for protection. There's a long way to the finish line. Don't gloat. Don't read the press clippings from last year. Finish strong. Keep your eye on the goal and ask for the good hand of God to protect you from all the traps that could disqualify you, faithful men and women that serve our state. So I want to challenge you to pray like leaders. Pray and trust God. Depend upon Him in humble trust. And live with the smile of God on your life. And ask God every day for His blessings and favor on you. Would you stand with me as we have prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance? Bow and pray with me. Father God, we come to you in the name of Jesus Christ. We thank you today for the men and women that serve this house. Thank you, God, for the men and women that serve the residents of Georgia. They need our prayers. They need your wisdom, and we all need your favor. We've been taught today from an open Bible that you're holy, you provide our needs, you protect us from traps, and Lord, you give us grace to be gracious to one another. So help us today live out God's truth as we've heard it read in the Bible. Give God wisdom to these men and women as they have this session today. May Jesus Christ be honored and glorified. This we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Would you now offer the Pledge of Allegiance with me? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great message. Members, Luke Kinsley's here with Brother Jeff. Luke, we welcome you to the house. We appreciate your mission in the church and all the groups you're working with. We appreciate you as well. Doorkeepers, you may unlock the doors. Members, we appreciate Brother Jeff being here. Thank you for that message. And you may join Brother Jeff and express your appreciation for him being here and get a photo, if you will, in the South Ante room. Thanks again for being here. Members, our doctor of the day was invited to serve us today by Representative Lee Hawkins. Thank you, Representative Hawkins. Dr. Catherine West We taking care of our needs today. Dr. West, we appreciate you taking your time to be here with us and taking care of the needs of the folks in this Capitol. Thank you very much. Chairman Tarvin, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, is recognized. Chairman Tarvin.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Information and Audits has read the journal from the previous legislative day and found it to be correct. And on another note, we are products of our past, but we don't have to be prisoners of it.
Now that's profound, Chairman Tarvin. I like that a lot. Absolutely correct. Chairman Tarvin, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to dispense with the reading of the journal? The chair hears none. The reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? Chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day. Mr. Clerk.
Representative, administration of the 104th moves following be established as the order of business during the first part of the period. Unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of House bills and resolutions. Second reading of bills and resolutions. Reports of standing committees. Third reading and passage of uncontested local bills and resolutions. Morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. First reading the bills and resolutions, the clerk will read.
House Bill 1487 by Representative Collins, 71st, Smith of the 70th, Huddleston of the 72nd, Smith of the 18th. Bill be titled an act to amend the act to provide a new charter for the city of Villa Rica.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 1488 by Representative McDonald of the 26th, Jaspers of the 11th, Jones of the 25th, Clark of the 100th, Cox of the 28th, and others. Bill be titled an act to authorize Forsyth County to exercise all redevelopment and other powers.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 1489 by Representative Saints of the 180th, Corbett of the 174th, and Knight of the 134th. Bill be titled an act to repeal an act creating the Camden County Spaceport Authority.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 1490 by Representative Newton of the 127th. A bill be titled an act to amend Article 4, Chapter 8 of Title 13 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to restrictive covenants and contracts.
Judiciary.
House Bill 1491 by Representative Jaspers of the 11th. A bill be titled an act to amend an act relating to the regulation and taxation of electricity.
Transportation.
House Bill 1492 by Representative Jaspers of the 11th. A bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 4, Title 6 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to the Georgia Airport Development Authority.
Economic development and tourism.
House Bill 1493 by Representative Newton, 127th. A bill be titled an act to amend Article 3, Chapter 26 and Title 43 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to mandatory reporting requirements for nurses.
Health.
House Bill 1494 by Representative Jackson, the 165th, Hitchens, the 161st, Gilliard, the 162nd, Stevens, the 164th, Westbrook of the 163rd. Bill be titled an act to amend an act creating the new charter for the city of Garden City.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 1495 by Representative Jackson, the 128th. Bill be titled an act to amend an act providing for a new charter for the city of Sandersville.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 1496 by Representative Wiedauer, the 121st, and Gaines, the 120th. Bill be titled an act to reconstitute the Board of Education of Oconee County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 1497 by Representative Onulowitz of 42nd, Limon the 98th, Panditch of the 51st, Draper the 90th, Howell the 50th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 1 and Title 31 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to general provisions of health.
Public and Community Health.
House Bill 1498 by Representative Nullo. It's the 42nd, Limon the 98th, Panage the 51st, Iowa the 50th, Cannon the 58th. Bill be titled an act to amend Code Section 3196.1 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to disclosure of certain information.
Public and Community Health.
House Resolution 1478 by Representative Barnes of the 86th, Clark of the 108th, Mitchell of the 88th, Bennett of the 94th, Schofield of the 63rd, and others. A resolution recognizing every third Thursday in April as Biomedical Research Day.
Health.
House Resolution 1479 by Representative Petrie of the 166th, Gilliard of the 162nd, Stevens of the 164th, Hitchens of the 161st. A resolution advocating for the permanent protection of the site of the Weeping Time in Savannah, Georgia.
Special rules.
House Resolution 1498 by Representative Rose, the 124th, a resolution creating the House Study Committee on Private Water Systems.
Agriculture and Consumer Affairs.
House Resolution 1499 by Representative Thomas, the 65th, a resolution recognizing Mrs. Maria Montez Pfeiffer and dedicating an intersection in her honor.
Transportation.
House Resolution 1500 by Representative Thomas, the 65th, Glaze, the 67th, Roberts, the 52nd, resolution honoring the life of Lieutenant Michael Stephen Vogt and dedicating a road in his memory.
Transportation.
House Resolution 1501 by Representative Thomas, the 65th, Bruce, the 61st, Alexander, the 66th, and New, the 64th. A resolution recognizing Mr. Corey Brother Condry and dedicating a roundabout in his honor.
Transportation.
That completes first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 1473 by Representative Stinson of the 150th, a bill to provide a new charter for the city of Fort Valley. House Bill 1474 by Representative Lupton of the 83rd, Holland of the 54th, Miller of the 62nd, Willis of the 55th, Schofield of the 63rd, and others. A bill to amend an act to provide a new charter for the city of Atlanta. House Bill 1475 by Representative Fleming of the 114th, Henderson of the 113th, Carter of the 93rd. A bill to amend an act to provide a new charter for the city of Covington. House Bill 1476 by Representative McDonald of the 26th, Cox of the 28th, Clark of the 100th, Jaspers of the 11th, Jones of the 25th, and others. A bill to authorize the governing authority of Forsyth County to levy an excise tax. House Bill 1477 by Representative Fleming of the 114th, Henderson of the 113th, Carter of the 93rd. A bill to provide a new charter for the city of Oxford. House Bill 1478 by Representative Blackman of the 146th, Beverly of the 143rd, Williams of the 148th, Dickey of the 145th, Hatchett of the 155th, and others. A bill to create the Mid-State Energy Authority as an institution performing an essential governmental function. House Bill 1479 by Representative Burchett of the 176th, Corbett of the 174th. A bill to authorize the assessment and collection of a technology fee by the probate court of Ware County. House Bill 1480 by Representative Silcox of the 53rd, Jones of the 47th, Thomas of the 65th, Miller of the 62nd, Willis of the 55th, and others. A bill to amend an act providing for the number of members and for the election of members of the Board of Education of Fulton County. House Bill 1481 by Representative Cannon of the 58th, Schofield of the 63rd, Holland of the 54th, Evans of the 57th, Evans of the 89th, and others. A bill to provide a homestead exemption from City of Atlanta Independent School District ad valorem taxes. House Bill 1482 by Representative Stevens of the 164th, Gilliard of the 162nd, Hitchens of the 161st, Jackson of the 165th, Westbrook of the 163rd. A bill to repeal an act to provide for the establishment of fire protection districts in Chatham County. House Bill 1484 by Representative Elowitz of the 42nd, Williams of the 37th, Lupton of the 83rd, Cummings of the 39th, Cooper of the 45th. A bill relating to regulation of fireworks and general provisions regarding provisions applicable to counties and municipal corporations. House Bill 1485 by Representative Lupton of the 83rd, Tran of the 80th, Taylor of the 92nd, Barnes of the 86th, Bennett of the 94th, and others. A bill to amend an act to create and establish in DeKalb County districts from which the members of the County Board of Education of DeKalb County shall be elected. House Bill 1486 by Representative Lupton of the 83rd, Oliver of the 82nd, Tran of the 80th, Barnes of the 86th, Draper of the 90th, and others. A bill to amend an act to incorporate the city of Brookhaven in DeKalb County. House Resolution 1434 by Representative Martinez of the 111th, resolution honoring Mrs. Ashley McDonald Callahan, dedicating an intersection in her memory. House Resolution 1435 by Representative Stevens of the 164th, a resolution urging the state of Georgia and the Department of Economic Development to support the Vince Dooley Battlefield Preservation Fund. House Resolution 1477 by Representative Evans of the 89th, Moore of the 91st, Tran of the 80th, Lupton of the 83rd, a resolution creating the House Study Committee of Offshore Wind Energy. Senate Bill 575 by Senator Williams of the 25th, a bill to create the Milledgeville Public Facilities Authority. Through second readers.
It is Monday. It sounds like y'all all been at the St. Patrick's Day Parade to me. What a great time, the 200th St. Patrick's Day Parade. There were a lot of Irishmen in Savannah. I think y'all celebrated with them. Maybe yesterday was St. Patrick's Day. Members, if we can have your attention, the clerk has a little bit of business he would like to report to you. Take it one notch down, or you can take it to the ante room. Your choice. Reports of standing committees the clerk will read. Mr. Clerk.
Representative Beth Camp of the 135th District, Chairman of the Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Local, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Local has had under its consideration the following bills of the House and the Senate and has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 1425 do pass. House Bill 1443 do pass. House Bill 1465 do pass. House Bill 1466 do pass. House Bill 1467 do pass. House Bill 1468 do pass. House Bill 1469 do pass. House Bill 1470 do pass. House Bill 1471 do pass. House Bill 1472 do pass. House Bill 1483 do pass. Senate Bill 562 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Beth Camp of the 135th District, Chairman. Representative Stephen Saints of the 180th District, Chairman of the Committee on Special Rules, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Special Rules has had under its consideration the following bill. The Senate has instructed me to report same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 69 do pass. Respectfully submitted. Representative Stephen Saints of the 180th District, Chairman. Representative Shaw Blackman of the 146th District, Chairman of the Committee on Ways and Means, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Ways and Means has had under its consideration the following bills of the Senate has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 340 do pass by committee substitute. Senate Bill 349 do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Shaw Blackman of the 146th District, Chairman. That completes the reading of the reports of standing committees.
Third reading and passage of uncontested local bills is, if there is no objection, we will vote on the local calendar as a whole with a recorded vote. Hearing none is so ordered. Mr. Clerk, will you read the local calendar?
House Bill 1425 by Representative Gilliard of the 162nd Chatham County. House Bill 1443 by Representative Holland of the 54th City of Atlanta. House Bill 1465 by Representative Reeves of the 99th City of Duluth. House Bill 1466 by Representative Gullett of the 19th Paulding County. House Bill 1467 by Representative Hawkins of the 27th City of Gaines, City of Gillsville. House Bill 1468 by Representative Saints of the 180th Camden County. House Bill 1469 by Representative Gamble of the 15th City of Emerson. House Bill 1470 by Representative Mathiak of the 74th Fayette County. House Bill 1471 by Representative Ballinger of the 23rd Cherokee County. House Bill 1472 by Representative Gamble of the 15th Bartow County. House Bill 1483 by Representative Leverett of the 123rd City of Washington. Senate Bill 562 by Senator Jackson of the 41st City of Pine Lake.
For what purpose does Representative Holland rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to make a motion that House Bill 1443 be removed from the local calendar and postponed to the next legislative day.
The lady has made a motion that House Bill 1443 be removed from the local calendar and postponed to the next legislative day. Is there objection? Hearing none is so ordered. Now, members, our posture is we will vote on the local calendar as a whole with less and except House Bill 1443. Is there an objection to the previous question being ordered on the local calendar? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there an objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bills? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall these bills now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bills on the local calendar without HB 1443 will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of the local calendar, less than accept HB 1443, the yeas are 161, the nays are 1. These bills, having received the requisite constitutional majority, are therefore passed. Members, we have a few morning orders this morning. I'm going to ask the members to hold your morning orders to that 1 minute so we can get on. We have a lot of business we need to tend to today, and we have a lot of good folks in the gallery, so we want to make sure we have time to recognize them all. I want to recognize Representative Mathis for the first morning order. Representative Mathis, he has a sad resolution recognizing a loss in his community, and then he has a happy resolution. So we'll start. If you members, will you rise and give the representative in the well your attention? Representative Mathis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, member of the House. It is with a heavy heart that I come to you today and announce to you the passing of Doug Davis. Doug is a resident of Bleckley County. When he was raised, this is a picture of Doug here. Doug excelled greatly in our hometown at school. He was academically a scholar. He was a football player and baseball player. Douglas went on to play football at Middle Georgia College as a long snapper. Then he went to the University of Georgia for 2 years and played for the Bulldogs as a long snapper. Doug died tragically Friday night while coaching his youngest son, Dalton, at the Lake Point Sports Complex in Bartow County. He is survived by his wife, Pamela, his son, Brooks, Emma Grace, and Dalton. Doug's daddy and mama are personal friends of mine. His daddy, Mike, is our sole commissioner in Bleckley County. We were all raised together. When Doug played football at University of Georgia, he played with our now Lieutenant Governor, Burt Jones. Some of you know Corey Phillips, John England. He was on those teams. Doug was a great person. He was a good daddy. He was a good husband, a good son. This was just totally unexpected. But I do share good news that Doug was ready. He knew the Lord. And that is a blessing. And that's a comfort to his family as we talked to him yesterday. Doug's service is today at 3 p.m. up in Powder Springs. So if you'll bow with me for a moment of silence. Father, we thank you for the family. We just ask you to wrap your loving arms around them and give them strength through this very difficult time. For us, it's in the precious name of Jesus we pray. Amen. Thank you.
Representative Mathis, would you like to recognize your cheerleading team?
Yeah, on a happy note.
On a happy note.
Sometimes we have to move on down here, don't we? I'd like for my 2023 state champion cheerleaders for the Class 1A Division 1, A Division 1 to stand right up here. We have the great cheerleaders, Mr. Speaker. Under the direction of Miss Heather Davis, this program has earned the opportunity to compete as a state finalist every year for at least the past decade, which means they have consistently been one of the top 16 teams in the state of Georgia. Since 2018, the program has finished as one of the top 4 teams in the state. This program has also been blessed with 2 state champions in just 3 seasons. They were crowned 2021 state champions and are currently the 2023 reigning state champions in A Division 1. And this team has truly put their season in God's hand and wholeheartedly trusted him through all the adversity they faced. The Bleckley County Cheer Program, again, as I said, is Heather Davis. We also have her husband, Coach Brad Davis, up there. We have our superintendent, Trey Bellflower, who is Adam Bellflower's daddy, and we also have Dr. Brad Knox, which is our principal from there. I'd love for you to join me in giving them a big welcome and a good round of applause. Thank you so much. And thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Good to have y'all. Thank you, Representative Mathis. What a great program y'all have going. Nice medals. I see y'all all have y'all's state championship medals on. Congratulations. do it again next year. Representative Johnny Chastain is recognized for a morning order. Now we're going to put you on a minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my honor today to recognize the 8U Girls Fannin County Basketball State Champions. Y'all stand up. They're a very hard-working group. They play as a team. And my oldest daughter, Kristen's up there. She's the head coach. Kristen, stand up. Stand up. My wife's up there, Stacy, and my other granddaughter, Chloe. Welcome to the Capitol.
We're glad that Chastain's in charge up there. Congratulations, young ladies. Good to have y'all. Representative Marion and Representative Martinez, if you'll join him in the well for a morning order. Representative Pedro Martinez, excuse me, I put y'all together, didn't I? That would be a dynamic duo.
Morning, yes. So today I rise to acknowledge some people that have made an impact in the Latino community in the residential and commercial real estate. We have the people from Rue Hill, Hilda Abbott, Albert Solto, and Alex Raul Rivera, and also Oscar Cordon from Cordon Electric. So again, people that have making an impact in our community, in our business community. Please rise and welcome. They are attached to the wall. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Representative Pedro Martinez. No, that's not right. Pedro Marin and Ray Martinez. I got y'all. I knew who you were. Representative Rhonda Taylor and friends. Representative Taylor.
Thank you and good morning, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. I am here in honor of National Women's History Month to honor someone that is a community person. She is here with us in the gallery. And in honor of Women's History Month, I want to recognize Michelle Hodges. Would you please stand? She is also known as Miss Wall Street. She is a comedian with a unique flavor and flair. She has performed with such people as Jeff Foxworthy, Palmer Williams of Tyler Perry, House of Pain. She's been with Trina Braxton and the famed Braxton family. She has been on Fox News. She's been all over. And she's also known as, in her profession as a real estate broker. And she's created Dons and Divas, which helps men and women realize their dreams of home ownership by teaching them about credit, building, and investment. Colleagues, would you help me welcome Ms. Wall Street to the Capitol? She will be down in the ante room for pictures. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Good to have you, Miss Wall Street. Come on down to the third floor and they'll get some photos with you. You can make some of them famous. Representative Lupton. Representative Karen Lupton. And friends.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Oh, and I forgot my notes. Ladies and gentlemen, if the Morehouse men can gather, and anybody else who would like to gather here in the well, today we are among greatness, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm not talking about a little greatness, I'm talking about a lot of greatness. We're talking about a Morehouse man who became dominant in the track and field arena at a time when Morehouse didn't even have a track to call its own. We are talking about a two-time Olympic gold champion. We are talking about a two-time world champion. We're talking about a three-time World Cup winner in the 400-meter hurdles. Please, let's honor today Dr. Edwin Moses, Olympian, champion. He has been inducted into the National Track Hall of Fame. He has begun the laborious Sport program, an institute that is promoting integrity in sport. He has developed the first out-of-season randomized drug testing for amateur athletes. He has received awards for his dedication to keeping integrity in sport. And in 2016, 40 years too late, he got his Wheaties box. We're incredibly proud to have you in Georgia, sir. He will be available in the anteroom for pictures. Get your autographs while you can. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Dr. Moses, you look like you're still fast, are you? Good. Great to have you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your contributions, and thanks for the work you're carrying on now. Members, you may join Dr. Moses in the anteroom for a photo. Thanks. Chairman Chokas. Chairman Chokas, recognized for a morning order. Morning order. And friends, yes. And friends.
Good.
You need to choose your friends wisely.
Just a few. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, they're up there. It's my pleasure to recognize the Chattahoochee-Flint RISA Student Advisory Board and RISA Director Richard McCorkle. These students are active and engaged in their respective schools and provide excellent feedback to the RISA board. The Chattahoochee-Flint RISA consists of Chattahoochee County, Crisp County, Dooley County, Furlough Charter, Macon County, Marion County, Muskogee County, Quitman County, Randolph County, Soweta STEM Charter, Stewart, Sumter, Talbot, Taylor, and Webster. Most of the state. Anyway, thank you very much for being here, student leaders. We appreciate your all's engagement and involvement.
Please stand so we can recognize you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Gaines, recognized for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to recognize the University of Georgia Law Republicans that are up in the gallery. If we can give them a round of applause and welcome to the state capitol. Go Dogs.
Good to have you, gentlemen. Representative Yadenia, give him your attention. He needs just a minute. He has some friends that are with him. So, Representative, you have the well.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I'd like to recognize today is African Diaspora Day at the Capitol. All right. We have a number of guests in the house today. I'm just going to go through quickly. You all got this beautiful pen on your desk, courtesy of Ethiopia Airlines that fly out of Atlanta, Georgia to Addis Ababa. We have Malet Yashita, who's sales and marketing rep. Please, don't rush her. Get your tickets. She'll have plenty for you. Also like to recognize some others in the community. Mr. Eric Mwange is a Kenyan American who is a community leader and influencer and mobilizer. Nigeria-US IT Network. They collaborate professional development in information technology space. Councilman Awet Ayasu, who is on the City Council for Clarkston. Mr. Dede Ntuba, who is the chairman of the Congolese community. The Nigerian Women Association of Georgia, which serves the community. Dr. Angela Harris of Black I Am Awards. Kwabena Kwateng, Ghanaian American CEO of the Ikes Group and young entrepreneur who works in the hospitality industry and has a restaurant in Norcross. Ms. Diana Ampoma, Ghanaian American who founded Wow Africa Community. Bishop Adejugbe, who is CEO and entrepreneur promoting businesses in Georgia. And definitely the Georgia Haitian American Chamber of Commerce are also here. They also promote multiple businesses from across Haiti. And last but not the least, Chairman Adafe Soje, who leads the Nigerian American PAC and also the One Voice Africa community. Welcome to the house.
We have a reception and luncheon at 1 o'clock today in Capitol Room 216. being put on with us and the members here of Georgia Africa Legislative Caucus. We thank you all. Can you rise and let's give you the proper greeting in the House. Thank you. You either will.
We're moving on to a special morning order. If we can get everybody to their seats. I've been put on notice that I'm going to be standing here for a little while, so I appreciate you guys taking attention. And we've got Representative Mandisha Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. I rise today to give my farewell to Georgia General Assembly, as this is my last session and term. If I had to entitle this speech story, it would be, "What did the Lord say?" It's been 3 years, 2 months, and 19 days. Although I came into this elected position with a lot of knowledge, I'm leaving with a lot more than what I came with. I want to say thank you to the Minority Leader, James Beverly, the Chair of the Caucus, Billy Mitchell, and the Whips, Sam Park and Sandra Scott. My chambermates, Representative Lisa Campbell and Representative Shagun Adina, and my administrative assistant, Carmen Champion, as well as the majority leadership. I would also like to thank the chairman of my committees, Industry and Labor Chairman Werkheiser, Chairman of Energy, Utility and Telecommunications, Don Parson, and my beloved Agriculture and Consumer Affairs Chair, Robert Dickey. It took a lot to get to this seat. In 2017, the Lord gave me clearance to run for city council in the new city of South Fulton. There were 12 people vying for the same council seat, and before the election, the Lord told me that I would not win. And I said, just let me make it to the runoff. And he did. And after I didn't win the council seat, 3 months later, I heard the Lord say, run for state. And a former representative of this body said, Mandisha, if you want to run for state, you should have started a year ago if you want to win against a long-term incumbent. So I asked the Lord if this was true, and he said, you did start a year ago. That's why I had you run for city council. He said, all of your city council district is in your state seat, and it will be the crust of your district. So on election night, I was in the bathroom, putting on my makeup, getting ready to go to the watch night party, and the Lord said again, you didn't win. And I said, not again, as I fell to the floor. Because I'm tall, my head didn't hit the back of the tub, and I fell. I sat there for a second as I shed a quick tear, then I got up and continued to put on my makeup. Later, an old college friend came to pick me up, and I said, let's stop by Biddy's, my mother's house, because I had been running around from polling site to polling site, and I hadn't seen her all day. She was standing in the doorway, and it was dark. And she said, are you on your way to the party? And I said, yes. She said, I'm going to try to stay up and watch the numbers roll in. I didn't have the heart to tell her that she could just go to bed because I wasn't going to win the race. The numbers came out, and sure enough, I did not win. After the race, I immediately went to help Stacey Abrams for governor from June to November. And then I finally asked the question, Lord, what happened? You told me to run for city council, you told me to run for state, and I didn't get either one. I asked the question again, why didn't I win? And the Lord never answered why, but he did say, just stick with the food deserts, Mandisha. And at that time in 2019, I was doing all this environmental work. I created the Environmental Justice and Education Awareness Symposium. There was a partnership with Representative Bazemore, Roger Bruce, Kim Schofield, Debbie Buckner, and I believe Derek Jackson was there too, along with Congressman Hank Johnson. In January 2020, the Lord said, you're going to win state representative if you decide to run, but the choice is yours. It was a little hard for me, but on January 13, 2020, I said, I'm running. I asked the Lord how to win a race against a 30-year incumbent, and he said, how many people voted in your race last time? And I said, about 5,000. And he said, call them all personally. I gave myself 4 weeks to do it as a birthday present to myself from January 13th to February 11th. All of this was hurting. My phalanges, my arm, my shoulder, my back arm, the pain shrugged up through my back. And my fingers were numb. My thumb, my right thumb, my left thumb was numb because I had called all these people and asked them to vote for me. When I finished calling the people, I began canvassing. I knocked on the doors, but guess what? COVID-19 hit, and I was still out knocking on doors. I remembered I started with the city of Palmetto, then on to Union City, then on to Fairburn, and I had to stop. I got to the door in Fairburn, and a voter said, why are you out here? At that time, I knew that it was time to come back in, and I was hurt because I love campaigning. I had to stop and give myself a milkshake at Steak and Shake to console myself. It's funny how it was a 3-year journey to get here, but I'm only able to be here 3 years because the Lord spoke again and said, your time is over at the General Assembly. I have done what I came here to do. I had multiple purposes for being here, Representative Maynard. But the first thing is always going to be ministry. Ministry will always be the #1 reason that I'm in a space. However, my purpose for being here was because of agriculture. I was specifically here, Chairman Dickey, to build farmers in South Fulton, to activate and engage people in agriculture. And it was so specific that I became known as the political farmer. And I traveled back and forth across Georgia, South Georgia and Middle Georgia, learning growing techniques, hearing from farmers, and understanding the resources they needed. Many times, I was the only Democrat there. It's not that I can't go further in agriculture here under the Gold Dome. It's not that agriculture is ending for me. It's just that I'm poised for a higher plane. I will continue to push ag, but push ag in multiple ways. Ag is not just soil and produce. Ag can reduce crime, heal bodies from chronic diseases. Ag can change the quality of life and can combat literacy in our education. And ag can create generational wealth. The Ag Commissioner always says agriculture is national security. And then I would always come back and say, there is no culture without agriculture. When I saw over 300 trees being removed from the parkway in my district, I was saddened, and I saw the truck of logs leaving. I was because I knew that the great monetary value had just left my district. That was ag, Big Papi. Everything I did here was related to ag. I push heart disease prevention with the Heart of the Matter Summit that I created with the Department of Public Health. As a freshman, Chairman Terry England allotted me a state appropriation to bring the Georgia Young Farmer Association program to South Fulton. I put on an agricultural Christmas for Kids, which connected Christmas to agriculture on farms with Santa and livestock. I held numerous of events such as World Vegan Day, where I gave out black bean burgers and vegan cook guides. What I'm most proud of is the 30-plus pieces of legislation I sponsored and the agri-literacy camp where second, third, and fourth graders learn literacy on a farm from multiple instructors for an entire weekend. All this doesn't stop here. I'm advancing to a different platform to continue the work that will yield me more resources and dollars to affect the areas that's greatly needed in Georgia. I do not want to bore you with all the details of what's next or in store for the political farmer. But at the end of this term, I will no longer be the state representative of House District 65. And District 65 is so special to the South Metro area, so special that 2 districts were created out of redistricting. First, House District 67 with the Honorable Lydia Glaze, and a new District 64. But today we have 4 candidates that have stepped up to run for District 65. And in order of how they qualify, I want to recognize them. DeAndre S. Pickett from South Fulton, Mel Keaton from South Fulton, Robert Dawson from South Fulton, and Sam Wakefield from South Fulton that are here with us in the gallery. Colleagues, one of these young men will be the next representative of District 65 serving South Fulton, Douglas, and Coweta County. One of you will be the next state representative for District 65. And I decree and declare from this stance that this seat is blessed, that the bills will be passed for you, and that budgetary appropriations will be made for you. I declare that the winner of this election shall be successful in this seat and will continue to fight for the plight of the district and the plight of the people. And the winner will also function in the full authority and exude the power of this seat to not only do the work of the people, but do the work of the Lord. And it is so. Colleagues, this is a short but fast and furious run. And I knew this time was coming. I just didn't realize it was coming this fast. But it is here. And the only thing I can say is he's able. He's able. He's able. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, as I yield the well.
Representative Thomas, urban farmers, I think you got it, don't you? We know you had the right direction when you came here, and your service has been exemplary, and we appreciate you as a person, your faith, and your belief in agriculture, Mr. Chairman. Changes people's lives. It changed ours, isn't it? Thank you for what you've done. We appreciate you and wish you the best. We have some awfully good members that are moving on. We appreciate their service. We'll move on to the rules calendar, members. Moving on to the rules calendar. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to Senate Bill 169?
Senate Bill 169 by Senator Payne to the 54th, Dixon to the 45th, Roberts to the 29th, and others to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 22-754 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to procedures to be followed by a disciplinary officer panel or tribunal in public schools. This bill has been referred to the Committee on Education. That committee recommends this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Representative Cox is recognized to present SB 169. Representative Cox, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. SB 169 is amending the current law that exists in the public schools where hearing dates for students that are being disciplined, that we provide limits on it, that it will be no longer than 15 days. A parent can request an extension, but currently there is no time limit on these said extensions. It also requires schools to provide instructional materials to the students that are waiting for these disciplinary process to also end. I yield for questions.
Gentleman has no questions.
I yield the well.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Beg your pardon? We do have a speaker in favor. Representative Andenia. Chairman Wiedauer, would you tell Representative Andenia we have a bill that he is requested to speak on? I think I see him in the South Annie room. He waves. He waves. Okay, we'll move on then. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of Senate Bill 169. The yeas are 167. The nay is 1. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Members, we have a former member of the House, former Representative Ken Poston. Let's make him feel welcome. Representative Poston was just informing me he had written a book. After he's up in Ringgold, he'd written a book after he left this body, The Zenith Man. So we're going to give you a card. You can take a look at it. You may be interested in reading former Representative Poston's book. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to Senate Bill 376?
Senate Bill 376 by Senator Tillery of the 19th, Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Burns of the 23rd, and others to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 11 and Title 15 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to the juvenile code so as to clarify requirements of parents, defects, and courts in order to improve timely permanent placement of a child removed from their home. This bill has been referred to the Committee on Juvenile Justice. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Representative Gullett is recognized to present the bill. Representative Gullett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I rise to present Senate Bill 376. And although this is not a defects department bill, it most assuredly is a bill that impacts defects. In a child determination and dependency case, there are certain factors that judges have to read through and decide. And I believe the sponsor of this bill in the Senate believes there's ambiguity, I can't even say the word, ambiguity, as to whether a parent is moving forward on a single factor, and if that's enough to say the case plan is moving forward. And by virtue of a case plan moving forward, a delay in the termination of parental rights, and ultimately a delay in allowing the future of adoption is occurring. This bill requires that courts determine whether a parent has made substantial progress towards the completion of their case plan at the 75-day review mark. It also requires that the court to issue findings on whether a parent has made substantial progress on each point of the case plan. It's our goal, and I'm sure your goal here as members in this House, to help provide permanency to the roughly 10,000 children waiting for permanent homes here in defects, and that's exactly what this bill does. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to answer any questions.
You have no questions.
Thank you. Ask for your favorable consideration.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of Senate Bill 376, the yeas are 166, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to Senate Bill 422? 422.
Senate Bill 422 by Senators Dixon of the 45th, Gooch of the 51st, Summers of the 13th, and others, being titled an act to amend Title 46 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to public utilities and public transportation so as to modify the percentage limitation as to the amount of the investments an electric membership corporation may make. This bill having referred to the Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Telecommunications, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chairman Carson is recognized to present the bill. Chairman Carson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a bill that we've seen a number of times because of various back and forth with the chamber across the way. This is Senate Bill 422. We've made some changes to the substitute. You see a couple of letter of support on your desk from Georgia EMC as well as Georgia Association of Manufacturers. All this bill does is allow EMCs to invest up to now 25% of their net utility plant figures into a gas subsidiary. It also includes some disclosure language, which is new to this chamber anyways, on lines 46 through 59. We're doing this as a gesture of goodwill to our friends in the Senate across the way to be about transparency and so forth. I did have a question in regard to why is this necessary. It's necessary because of growth, but also when you can factor in the amount or the definition of net utility plant within that's invested into a gas subsidiary, it includes the guarantees on the natural gas in those lines. As you know, natural gas commodity prices have been going up very considerably the past few years. So what this does is allow EMCs that fall within this to be allowed to grow, but also responsibly and under compliance with the statute. That's all it does, Mr. Speaker. Go up to 25%, and I'm happy to take a question, but if not, if there's no questions, I will yield the will.
Gentleman has no questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask for the body's favorable consideration.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? Chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of Senate Bill 422, the yeas are 154, the nays are 13. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption of Senate Bill 401? 401.
Senate Bill 401 by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd Payne to the 54th County of the 18th and others, to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 11 and Title 15 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the Juvenile Code so as to implement the recommendations of the Senate Foster Care and Adoption Study Committee. This bill having referred to the Committee on Juvenile Justice, that committee recommends this bill do pass.
Chair Lady Ballinger, are you ready? Chair Lady Ballinger will present the bill, Senate Bill 401.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 401 is a very simple bill. It comes out of the Senate study committee that they had over the interim between the past session and this most current session. They recognize the need for more data to better understand what exactly is going on in our juvenile court system. So this just basically allows for our juvenile courts to enter certain information into JDAX. It specifies what specific information will be entered into the system, where that information will be sent, the report that will be generated and sent to the House, Chair of Juvenile Justice, and the Senate Children and Families Committee, supported by the juvenile court judges and the Administrative Office of the Courts. Mr. Speaker, I'll be happy to yield for any questions.
Lady has no questions.
Thank you. I urge your favorable consideration for Senate Bill 401. I yield the well.
Lady is yielded the will. Representative Hutchinson is recognized to speak to the bill. Representative Hutchinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon or morning, colleagues. Today I'm going to do what I love to do the most and talk about myself. I have a long career in this industry. It's going on 30 years. I don't think anyone knows all the counties I've worked in, and there are too many to list, but some of them are, we go as far as Hart County. I worked in Habersham, Greene, Walton, Bibb, and every county in between. Unfortunately, I did not go much to South Georgia because I didn't get a mileage reimbursement. But what I learned in working in all of those counties, circuits, districts, even though we have the same law and we have the same policy, everyone interprets it differently. And one of the cases that I was involved with that this bill reminded me of was a case, I won't name the county, but these were 3 teenage girls. They had been in foster care for at least 6 years. The judge had been entertaining the mom, who was only moderately involved in her court plan. He indulged her for 6 years because she went to a meeting one time, she got an apartment that she lost in 6 months. 6 years, and every time we met, I had a working relationship with the judge, and I was like, I really don't think mom is gonna get this together. And what he said was, what a judge hates the most is having their verdict overturned. And he was gonna make sure that none of his verdicts were overturned, and that's why he took 5, 6, 7, and 8 years to make a decision. In this case, after the 5 or 6 years, this child lost her foster parent. The foster parent was going to be her adoptive parent, but she had a medical issue and she couldn't go forward with the adoption. So now we have 3 teenagers with no place to go. Rights have terminated to the parents, no place to go. That judge hurt that family more than they helped. There was another case that I remember. I did an assessment on this brand new baby, a newborn baby, and there was a woman who was there to adopt the baby. This woman, the mother, was on baby number 6. The mother's IQ was 58. And there was this one woman who kept adopting her kids. She was on baby number 6. She had 6 of this woman's kids. I said, well, how are the court hearings going? And they said, oh, we never went to court. We just have her sign the kids over. But she has an IQ of 58. She signed them, there's nothing we can do about it. That woman should have had an attorney present. She didn't have the money for an attorney, but she should have had an attorney. She's an IQ of 58. There is no way she could legitimately sign away 6 children. But that court circuit allowed it. What this bill is going to do, hopefully, is identify the areas that we have a problem. There are some counties that were well known for promising foster parents that they were going to adopt kids who were in foster care. So it made the termination of parental rights super quick, too quick, in my opinion. People were losing parental rights in 6 months. We have this area that's not terminating parental rights in 6 years, and we have another area that's terminating parental rights in 6 months. So a bill like this to collect data to see where all these anomalies are coming from, after all these years, is certainly past due. We needed this yesterday. So I just wanted to let you know how important some of the bills we get, we think, this isn't really going to make a huge difference in anybody's life. This one will. So I urge you to vote yes, and we can continue to make our baby steps to help children in foster care. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
The lady has yielded the well. She had a question, but we'll answer that one in the sweet by and by. I think sweet by and by. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machines? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock. For what purpose, Representative Bazemore rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that I am very supportive of this bill because my parents had adopted 8 children, and we lived through exactly what this bill is going to correct? So I thank the author of the bill.
Thank you for the question. You know firsthand, and bless your parents. All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of Senate Bill 401, the yeas are 170, nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption of Senate Bill 398?
Senate Bill 398 by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Roberts of the 29th, Walker of the 20th, and others to be entitled an Act to amend Article 5 of Chapter 4, Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the Georgia Joint Defense Commission so as to revise the Commission's operations. This bill having referred to the Committee on Defense and Veteran Affairs. That committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Representative Josh Bonner is recognized to present the bill. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This morning I rise to present Senate Bill 398, relates to the Georgia Joint Defense Commission. The mission of the commission is to advise the governor and the General Assembly on defense and military issues with the goal of supporting the long-term viability and development of the military, both active duty and civilian. The changes that are being made to the commission is that it moves the commission from under the TCSG to the Department of Economic Development. It also increases the membership of the commission from 19 to 23 members. It adds the Chancellor of the University System of Georgia as a member, and then adds members appointed by the House and Senate for a total of 5 each. With that, Mr. Speaker, I'll be happy to take any questions.
Chairman has You do have a question to your right. Representative Chaz Cannon has a question to your right. Representative Cannon.
Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
Is it not true that Georgia is home to 9 military institutions, employing tens of thousands of citizens and responsible for over $21 billion in annual economic revenue?
The gentleman knows of what he speaks. I appreciate the question, and it underscores just how valuable our military installations are here in the state of Georgia and how we need to foster that relationship to make sure that in the event there's another base realignment and closing commission, that they will just pass Georgia on by. Thank you.
Gentleman has no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Gentleman's yielded the well. We do have a speaker in favor. Representative Gladney is recognized to speak to the bill. Representative Gladney. She comes from a military town, too.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I rise before you today with the privilege to support the legislation of SB 398. That brings together the collaborative efforts of two of the most essential elements of our culture and society as we currently know it. That's military defense and economic vitality. As a third-generation military veteran, my grandfather was a World War II era Navy veteran, and my father was a Vietnam era Army veteran. Having served in the DMZ, it is absolutely no secret that I am extremely passionate about my advocacy for the military, for veterans, and for those currently serving on active duty. Georgia is now ranked 9th in the nation for veterans population. The state of Georgia is proudly home to 13 Federal Department of Defense installations and 54 Georgia Department of Defense National Guard and Reserve units, with almost every branch of service represented. Currently, today, right now, while we are sitting in these illustrious seats in this illustrious chamber representing our communities, there is an active deployment force representing the Georgia National Guard, the reserves, and active duty troops abroad, sacrificing life and limb in harm's way, serving away from their families, absent of their own peace of mind. They are there to fulfill their commitment to support and defend the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, pursuant to the orders and the officers that are appointed over them. As our state grows and continues to attract business and industries, what I find is that many industry management teams recruit workforce candidates from the military. That pipeline seems to be an attractive background for those individuals with technical expertise and experience. Through the efforts of the Georgia Joint Defense Commission and the Department of Economic Development, the intent of this bill is to extend their scope and to ensure that all of those challenges will be addressed with intentionality and are considered favorably. Even if the economic development was not largely an outcome in this culture, the development of human capital directly shapes military effectiveness of a society. Military installations have an impact on their surrounding cities, counties, and regions. The support of them and their viability is crucial. They are all crucial economic drivers in this state. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity, and I yield the well, sir.
Thank you, Lady Representative, for your view on the subject. That completes our discussion. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? Chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. Report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of Senate Bill 398. The yeas are 169, the nay is 1. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption of Senate Bill 426? 426.
Senate Bill 426 by Senator Tillery the 19th, Sessler the 37th, Burns the 23rd, Walker the 20th, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Title 40 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to motor vehicles and traffic so as to revise requirements for joining of a motor carrier and a motor carrier's insurer to a cause of action. This bill having referred to the Committee on Judiciary. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Whip Burchett is recognized to present the bill. Representing Burchett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. Again, I come to the well to present to you another piece of tort reform. And I know that perks everybody up. Everybody's smiling now and looking at me like this is fantastic. So I'll get to the bill. Senate Bill 426, I'm asking for a favorable vote from you. It is the direct action piece that you have heard about for so many sessions since I've been here. I know one of my colleagues from South Georgia who's not paying attention to me right now, and I won't call out. There he is. He has been harping on me for this bill for since I've been here since 2019. The Chairman of Appropriations in the Senate has brought this bill, Senate Bill 426, and what it does is it requires that in an action against a motor carrier or a driver, there is a good faith effort and reasonable effort to service both the driver and the motor carrier before ever being able to bring in the insurer. Direct action is an action suing not only the driver or the motor carrier or the insurer. So the piece that we're taking out here is the allowance for attorneys to sue an insurer without first providing for service on the motor carrier or the driver. And the argument is simply this, folks. Folks say that if we sue an insurance company, a jury is likely to award a much larger award when they see Allstate or Farm Bureau or one of these large insurance companies versus the motor carrier or the actual insured driver. That's the essence of the bill. Another piece of tort reform that we are putting before you. I ask for your favorable consideration. If you have any questions, I'll stand for questions, Mr. Speaker.
You have a couple of questions. Representing Chairman Perkle to your right is a payback question, I guess. Chairman Perkle.
Thank you so much. Does the gentleman yield?
The gentleman yields.
Thank you for finally listening to me after a good little bit of time on this bill. Is it not true that this actually is just a matter of fairness, that the insurance company should not be a named defendant in an action when all they did was write a policy?
I think the gentleman knows what she speaks, and the gentleman also knows the gentleman in the well does not practice in this area, correct?
This is correct. This is true. One final question, please. Does the gentleman yield for a final question?
I do.
Is it not true that this does not allow the insurance companies to skate by with no obligation, but it just keeps them from being a named defendant in a suit where there's only 4 states in the nation that allow what the state of Georgia has up until this time? Is that not true?
The gentleman knows what he speaks.
Thank you.
Representative Reese to your left has a question. All the way in the back.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Gentleman yields.
Thank you, sir, for this bill. And I do note that this bill was came about because of a great conversation between the Georgia Trial Lawyers Association, the insurance companies, as well as the chamber. So we had 3 entities working on this bill to make it a great bill. But can you elaborate a little bit, if you will, on how it will operate so that the people in the chamber will be aware? You say not sue insurance companies immediately. So from a time perspective, considering a 2-year statute of limitation for negligence claims, exactly when and at what time can an insurance company be brought into this claim if the defendant cannot be found?
So thank you for the question. If you look to the bill, it's recited on both lines 37 through 40 and on lines 14 through 18, but essentially, 20. Essentially, there need be a reasonable diligence to service against the driver or the motor carrier, and if they cannot find and perfect service on the driver or the motor carrier, then and only then can they perfect service on the insurance company. And at that point, the insurance company has 30 days to respond. But what you spoke about was the time is told essentially. If the term has run, then the secondary service on the insurer relates back to the original service on of the complaint, excuse me. So it does relate back in the event that the time has elapsed for you to bring the action.
Does the gentleman further yield?
Oh,
I think it's my mic, not yours.
Go ahead.
Isn't it true that as a licensed attorney in Georgia who has been required to help families during time of their needs, especially those that have been in accidents with big trucks and have a very hard time finding the defendant, isn't it true that this is a great compromise that lawyers like myself is happy with and that we can work with and feel that it still gives everyday Georgians a right to pursue someone who may hurt them in the event that there's a very serious accident or, God forbid, someone lose their life?
That is true, and thank you for bringing that out. The interest that we always have to weigh out here when we talk about tort reform, folks, is the interest of essentially the business and the aggrieved. So you and I represent 60,000 Georgians here. Some of those are businesses, and some of those are just citizen Georgians that don't own businesses. So what we have to do here, folks, is do a balancing act. So when can a Georgian sue a business, and we don't want to put too much weight on the Georgian side or the business Georgian side. So it's a balancing act, and that's what we do here every day. And to the gentleman's point, this is a compromise between the Georgia trial lawyers, the chamber, and the insurance companies. So thank you for bringing the question. With that, Mr. Speaker, I'll yield the well.
You have a couple of questions, but if you choose to yield the well, we have a couple of speakers.
We have speakers?
We do.
Well, I'm going to yield the well then.
So while you're the whip, you're a smart man. Chairman Billy Mitchell recognized to speak to the bill. The gentleman yielded the well.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I stand before you today to express my strong support for SB 426, a crucial piece of legislation that aims to provide essential requirements for joining a motor carrier's insurer to a cause of action. This bill is a significant step towards ensuring accountability and justice in cases involving motor carriers and their insurers. First and foremost, it is important to recognize the critical role that motor carriers play in our economy and daily lives. These companies are responsible for transporting goods and people across our state and nation, and their operations are essential for our way of life. However, with this great responsibility comes the need for accountability when accidents or incidents occur. SB 426 addresses this need by establishing clear requirements for joining a motor carrier's insurer to a cause of action. By ensuring that insurers are held accountable and are actively involved in legal proceedings related to accidents involving their policyholders, this bill promotes transparency and fairness in the legal process. Furthermore, by requiring insurers to be joined to a cause of action, SB 426 helps to streamline the legal proceedings and facilitate efficient resolution of cases involving motor carriers. This not only benefits all parties involved in the legal process, but also promotes timely and just outcomes for those affected by accidents and incidents. In addition, the legislation serves as a deterrent to irresponsible behavior by motor carriers and their drivers. Knowing that their insurers will be actively involved in legal proceedings and held accountable for their actions can encourage greater adherence to safety regulations and best practices, ultimately leading to a safer transportation system for all. As was stated by Representative Reese, we have the Chamber of Commerce as well as the trial lawyers in agreement with this legislation, which in my view is an accomplishment in and of itself. Georgia SB 426 is a crucial piece of legislation that promotes accountability, transparency, and efficiency in cases involving motor carriers and their insurers. By establishing clear requirements for joining insurers to a cause of action, this bill helps to ensure that justice is served, that all parties are held accountable for their actions. I urge your support for this important legislation for the benefit of our state and our constituents. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I yield the well.
Gentlemen, yield the well. Representative Stacey Evans is recognized to speak to the bill. Y'all give the lady some room there. Representative Evans recognized to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I rise in support of Senate Bill 426. Just wanted to talk briefly to you about the goodness that we are showing here today by passing this bill. And I speak to you as a couple of things today. The daughter of a truck driver who, congratulations, Dad, came off the road last year and retired after about 20 years on the road. Very happy to have him back so he can see the grandkids more. Fun piece of trivia. More men are employed as truck drivers than any other single profession. For women, it happens to be cashier, and both my dad and my mom are in the most populous careers for their genders. But there, if it comes up in trivia, you can thank me for your ability to get those questions right. But I'm also a trial lawyer. I don't practice in this area. I've never handled any car wreck cases that I can think of, and certainly not any involving trucks. But all of these factions, all of these interests came together to bring you Senate Bill 426. And the representative who brought the bill came up and spoke, but I'm guessing there were a lot more blood, sweat, and tears that went into that process than he shared here today, because bills like this are hard to get to, but they are so worth it. And it's really a lesson to us. It's a lesson to us in here. It's a lesson to those in the hall. And it's really the big reason I wanted to come up here today is when people sit down and talk honestly and put their cards on the table and don't make assumptions about the motives from one side or the other and really talk honestly, this is what I want, this is what I need, this is what I can't live with, and this is why, to allow the other side to have a dialogue face to face as opposed to running out and getting the other person, and it almost becomes a game of telephone. And when we all know what happens when you get a game of telephone, things get distorted, the wrong information gets shared. And so this bill makes me think, how many other great bills could we come in here with if we sat down face to face, we didn't hide behind our phones, we didn't hide behind surrogates or other people speaking on our behalf, but we just sat down and had an old-fashioned conversation. I think we would have a lot more good bills like Senate Bill 426. So I just wanted to come up here, number one, to speak in favor of a bill, which I don't think I've done so far this year, but also just to recognize what a good moment this is and urge everyone to vote yes on Senate Bill 426. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Ladies, yielded the well. We have no further speakers. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair here is done. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair here is done. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? For what purpose does Chairman Carpenter rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, please.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that all Georgians pay the price of lottery judgments?
I think so. I'm sure the gentleman believes what he sounded good to me. All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of Senate Bill 426, the yeas are 172. The nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption of Senate Bill 440?
Senate Bill 440 by Senator Brass, the 28th, Parent of the 42nd, Dixon the 45th, Butler the 55th, and others, to be titled an act to amend Article 6 of Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to Quality Basic Education Act, so as to provide for the Accelerated Career Diploma Program. This bill having referred to the Committee on Education, that committee recommends this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chairman Dubnik's recognized to present the bill. Chairman Dubnik.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, Chairman Brass and I co-chaired a study committee on dual enrollment last summer, and I will summarize this as not a simple bill. This is just a simplification bill. Y'all, what we learned, if you really want to come look at what dual enrollment looks like, it is way too complex. And I said at the end of that study committee that if I had to explain part of this process to my own children at home, I probably would not be too successful at that. So here's what we're doing to simplify: 4 things. And I want to thank Representatives Townsend, Ballard, and Stacey Evans for serving on this study committee. And there was a 36-page report that we produced, but we have narrowed that down to do 4 things. We're going to simplify the high school diploma path known as an accelerated career. Somebody asked this morning, what does that mean? What is an accelerated career? Very simply, if you want to go through the technical college system of Georgia and get a very specific credential that is going to put you to work very quickly, we're simply helping you get there faster and easier. The path is strictly for those students who are traditional academic diploma students, but who appreciate the importance of a technical education, the value of that degree, and who are ready to go to work. Number 2, we're going to simplify the funding available for this path. Y'all, we're state government, and here we are realizing that we're spending more money through dual enrollment than we need to be on this program. And so on average, we're going to be able to cut the cost of someone wanting to go to work by a third. Very proud of that. We will create one definition of high demand career path. You may have heard that statement in the past. In some of the programs that we fund, there's multiple lists. How do you get on a list? How do you get off the list? Which one takes priority? We're simply empowering the State Workforce Development Board to create that one high demand career path list. And finally, we're making sure that we look at dual enrollment funding so that we get a return on the investment. Every year, Georgia Student Finance Commission will look at everything that's going on with these students, how we're being fiscally responsible, and will come back to us as a legislature with a report on how much money we're actually saving and thus being able to put for other uses. Mr. Speaker, that is the bill. I'll be happy to stand for any questions.
You have a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
Representative Hong, to your right.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it not true that Governor Kemp has emphasized workforce development, and this bill will allow students to earn the credentials that employers are looking for faster than ever?
Absolutely.
Thank you for the bill.
Yes, ma'am.
Chair Lady Lynn Smith, right up the aisle in front of you, has a question.
Thank
Chair
you,
Lady
gentleman
Smith.
yield.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it not true that it was the central education system in Noonan, Georgia, that was the birthplace of this concept back in the late 90s?
The lady certainly knows of which she speaks, and that was quite the impressive day I got to spend in Coweta County.
And is it further not true that I appreciate the effort of this body through the years to keep perfecting this process so that more and more of our students have wonderful options for their education and careers?
Absolutely.
Thank you for this work.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
The gentleman knows a little about education. If you'll yield to the chairman of the Education Committee, Chairman Irwin, to your right.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, is it not true that dual enrollment students have higher secondary and post-secondary graduation rates?
I believe that to be true. Yes, sir.
Does he yield for one more question?
Yes, sir.
And those students that are enrolled in dual enrollment, when they finish their training in school, they earn higher wages after they graduate.
I believe that to be the case as well. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, further yield.
For one more, Mr. Speaker.
I'm going to recognize Representative Townsend for a question to your right.
Mr. Chairman, do you yield?
Yes, sir.
Is it not true that this legislation is part of a joint study committee on dual enrollment and for high talent of young ages, which had bipartisan support?
Yes, sir. That is the case. Mr. Speaker, with that, I will yield the well and ask for your favorable consideration on Senate Bill 440.
It's good to see you in the well there, Mr. Chairman. Thought I was going to prize you out there with a crowbar for a second. Thanks for your presentation. Representative Glaze is recognized to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of SB 440. As many of you know, I actually finished my career in education as college and career director. And this bill does what we could not do for many of our students, and that is to accelerate them in high school, to give them opportunities and a pathway to build out skill sets that would take them into the marketplace and give them an earning potential way beyond what they normally would. And so when I look at this bill and see the opportunities, what I really see is our young people having not just a bridge, but actually a highway to get to their career, to build their skill sets, and to begin to build Georgia in their neighborhoods and communities as they seek to have the career with the type of skill sets from our TCSG programs that are needed in our marketplace. We want to continue to build out this economy, but we cannot do it without giving opportunities and access to our young people who are ready to build out their skill sets. Thank you so much, Matt Brass and senators from the other side who brought us this great bill. It is bipartisan, and it is an opportunity for our young people to get quicker to the marketplace with the skill sets that are needed. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Ladies, yielded the well. Great insight to a great bill. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? Chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? For what purpose is Representative Ballard rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, is it not true that Georgia's accelerated career dual enrollment program is the envy of other states and one of the reasons that we are the #1 state to do business?
I know the lady speaks the truth, and she knows of what she speaks. For what purpose is Representative Kennard rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true that many of the clients in my homeless outreach program attend Gwinnett Technical College and they see themselves elevating out of poverty into independence?
I'm sure the gentleman knows what he speaks. Is a great program. It's having great results. Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of Senate Bill 440, the yeas are 168, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption of Senate Bill 456, 456?
Senate Bill 456 by Senator Strickland, the 17th, Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Watson the 1st, Albers the 56th, and others to be entitled an act to amend Article 14A, Chapter 7, and Title 31 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to the Central Caregiver Registry, so as to add disabled persons to the registry. This bill having referred to the Committee on Public Health, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair Lady Sharon Cooper is recognized to present the bill. Chair Lady.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I bring to you Senate Bill 456. Years ago, those of you who were here will remember, we went through a special process where we allowed certain people to apply to have a federal background check if they were going to be caretakers, if they were hiring a caretaker to take care of an elderly family member. The feds are very, very careful with who can apply to them. There is a charge of about $56 for somebody to make that inquiry. And the inquiry goes back to the person that's considering hiring the individual, and it is a strict yes or no to the hiring. It does not give any explanation as to why it would be a yes or no. It just says they're good to go, you can hire them, they should be good, or no, you cannot. So this just adds a disabled person, which they explain that a disabled person means an adult or child who is mentally or physically incapacitated or has Alzheimer's disease or dementia. That's what the bill does. It adds people, family members, who want to take care of their loved ones by hiring somebody to keep them in their home and to work with them. They can do the background checks. And with that, Mr. Speaker, if there's no questions, I will yield the well.
The lady has yielded the well. There's no questions. Representative Holly. Representative Marty Holly is recognized to speak in favor to the bill. Representative Holly.
Today, I rise in careful support of Senate Bill 456. On your screens, I'd like to introduce you to my big sister, Sortika Holly. She is the one who encouraged me to step out of the shadows, a champion of life who whispered a suggestion to me to get deeper involved in politics. In 2017, when she departed this earth to join the Lord, it enabled me to be able to see that Georgia stands in a position to be able to provide for the least of these just a well-sorted modicum of care that it's not right for my sister or anyone who is not physically able to have to seek out care while they themselves are undergoing serious treatment. She passed of rheumatoid arthritis, pulmonary hypertension, and Still's disease. And while my family, my mother, my sisters, my father, and I had to take turns as we had to watch over her, be able to provide her meals, at times be able to help her as she completed applications for experimental medicines when there were no opportunities for her to see the physicians that she needed. And in the end, fortunately, God allowed for my mother to be by her bedside in Harlem in a hospital where she gave up her ghost. And for that, I wish for you to be able to join me in support of Senate Bill 456. You can please have your seat. Standing up for family is something that I think we might all do. At times, we are not always privy as to when that moment may be. Senate Bill 456 recognizes the strength of structured family caregivers, or SFCs, and the need to maintain a registry of the professionals who keep watch over the health and healing of our loved ones, with the necessary addition of physically and mentally disabled. Currently, Georgia provides a home and community-based services waiver to pay for the provision of such services. With the needed updates in our state's medical services to sustain the most vulnerable among us, bills like Senate Bill 456 enables caregivers to make caring for the disabled and our incapacitated loved ones their primary focus. SFCs enable that support structures include the provision of even backup caregivers to handle other tasks while loved ones can still receive care. Additionally, I thank my good friend who may be watching, John Kirkpatrick, whose care of two severely disabled persons has enabled me to see the necessity in having the SFCs to have the funding and the support necessary. One of the most troubling decisions a family must make is to decide whether to care for their disabled or physically ill family members under limited means, or to eventually do as my family had decided and to send that loved one to another state where care may have been better funded, but through which the person may have to solely only care for themselves. No person should have to make that decision. I would much rather for family members to be alive. And that means it's tough when you have to say goodbye to them if the care should be provided elsewhere. But you all today, even though I know that sometimes we do disagree on the issues about that funding and where it should be placed, we can recognize the strength of structured family caregivers allowing for that support to remain in our households, to allow for the recipients of these Medicaid waivers to enable there to at least be some level of resolve when family members must make this hard decision. So I ask you to join me in support of Senate Bill 456, as it will extend the oversight of caretakers, and it will ensure that patients can not only receive care, but that we as a state can move to becoming one more responsible and provisional in the services granted to those who cannot fend for themselves. Thank you, my colleagues, and thank you for your support for my good sister. Sorka, I still love you. Take care.
Thank you, Representative. The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of Senate Bill 456, the yeas are 168, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to Senate Bill 480?
Senate Bill 480 by Senator Hodges III, Kirkpatrick the 32nd, Watson the 1st, Huffstetler the 52nd, and others to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 10 and Title 49 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the Georgia Board of Health Care Workforce so as to provide for student loan repayment for mental health and substance use professionals serving in certain capacities. This bill I refer to the Committee on Public Health. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair Lady Cooper is recognized to present Senate Bill 480.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, before I start on Senate Bill 480, I do want to say to Representative Hawley, thank you for those words. Elder abuse is rampant across our country. For every reported case of elder abuse, there are estimates now by the federal government that say that 24 cases go unreported. So anything that we can do to ensure that our elderly are well taken care of by eligible people that don't have any kind of a bad record is for the good. Now to Senate Bill 480. As you know, we have put and passed a bill making mental health and put it on parity with any other kind of health issue. One of the problems that we're having in our state in getting more care to people that have mental health issues is that we just flat don't have the people to take care of them. We don't have enough psychiatrists, we don't have enough psychologists, we don't have enough psychiatric nurse practitioners or social workers. So what this bill does, it's a loan repayment plan. And it is very specific to people that remain in Georgia while they are getting loan repayment, and that they work in their area. And basically it is, it goes with the amount of funds that we have, and the board will put the rules into place, and they will give priority to the different areas of our state, and they will look at whether this group needs psychiatrists, or this group needs psychologists, or this group needs psychiatric nurse practitioners, and try to match that as our needs across our state come forward. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I will yield the well, and I would ask for your favorable bill on Senate Bill 480.
Lady has no question. She's yielded the well. Representative Rahman is recognized to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, today I rise in support of Senate Bill 480. One of the things that we always spoke about during my time as a management consultant is retention and recruitment. And a lot of times, an organization simply cannot afford to increase pay even if they want to. Programs like this allow them to provide a benefit that is as close to payment as possible, particularly for professionals who have to get degrees that they cannot afford based on the rate that we can pay them for the services that they are providing. Today, in particular, this bill is so important, not just because of typical student, loan-related issues, but I want you to look at this graph up on the screen. As you can see, fentanyl and synthetic opioid deaths and overdoses have skyrocketed. Georgia is one of the states that has seen a 30% increase compared to the year prior, and it's only getting worse. Some of these figures are from 2020. We can't allow these epidemics to go unanswered, and bills like this give us an important tool to begin addressing these crises. If you notice, some of the other substance-related deaths have either flattened out or have gone down. But when it comes to fentanyl, it is still increasing. And part of that is we need a different type and a more specific professional to be able to address that specific addiction and that specific drug. Lastly, when it comes to programs like this, when we were talking about retention, it's one thing to be able to hire somebody for a year or two, but to be able to keep them around for 5 years is incredibly important for patients. It allows that provider to make sure that they continue to stay on course with their treatment. And obviously this is not just for substance abuse, but also for mental health. Continuity in care is crucial for success. And bills like this will enable us to recruit more people, to retain more people, and make sure they have the skills that we need to help as many people in Georgia as possible. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Ladies yielded the well. Representative Kennard is recognized to speak to the bill. Representative Kennard.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of this legislation today. Georgia, you're very aware that we have some workforce challenges, and you can also that's more acute in the medical profession, and you can compound that even further in our mental health spaces. Our program partners with Viewpoint Health, which is our local CSB, and I'm always hearing from them about their deficit with social workers, counselors, psychiatrists, especially clinicians. So I really appreciate this measure as we can kind of fill in the gaps with our mental health workforce in Georgia. Thank you for your support of it.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? For what purpose does Chair Lady Dempsey rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that it is a wonderful thing to hear so many members in support of this genuine challenge in our state and addressing an exact way that we can bring good services to more people?
I think it's a good thing, and when this House works together, we can accomplish anything. Thank you, Chair Lady. For what purpose does Representative Campbell rise? Representative Lisa Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true that this bill is a positive bill, as our other colleagues have referenced, and will help us in recruiting mental health professionals, especially to help our children in our schools? And isn't it also true that during the 2018-2019 school year, it's been reported that nearly 80,000 Georgia students in 6th through 12th grade reported having seriously considered attempting suicide, and that in Georgia 2 in 5 children had trouble accessing the mental health treatment they need? And programs like this will help us give the continuum of care we need for all of our children.
I think the lady knows of what she speaks, and thank you for those facts. For what purpose does Chair Lady Silcox rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, is it not true that substance abuse is often the result of untreated mental health issues? That treating those issues can often reduce the number of people who turn to drugs and alcohol?
The lady knows of what she speaks, and I appreciate the question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Members, we're going to close this out, but I'll say to you, we all know that mental health, substance abuse is a priority for this House. We're glad the Senate's joining in to move this issue forward. Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of Senate Bill 480, the yeas are 167, the nays are 2. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Ma'am. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption, Senate Bill 454?
The Senate Bill 454 by Senator Strickland of the 17th and Jones of the 10th, to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 6 of Title 19 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to alimony and child support so as to provide for guidelines for child support award calculations. This bill has been referred to the Committee on Juvenile Justice. That committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Representative Houston Gaines is recognized to present the bill. Representative Gaines.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Bring before you Senate Bill 454 by Senator Brian Strickland and Senator Emmanuel Jones. This legislation comes on behalf of the Child Support Commission, commission that Leader F. Strachan and myself are honored to serve on. It includes a lot of expert judges and family lawyers from our state. The commission has come up with some recommended changes based on economic study that's required every 4 years by federal law. Be first update and necessary update in 20 years to some of the child support laws that we have on our state. And again, everything in this legislation is always subject to a judge's ruling when considering these cases. But this bill will keep us in compliance with federal law and give us some much updated, overdue updates to our child support laws. I'm happy to answer a couple questions if there are any, Mr. Speaker.
You have no questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Gentlemen, yield to the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee's substitute? The chair hears none. The committee's substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of Senate Bill 454, the yeas are 166. The nay is 1. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to Senate Bill 508, 508?
Senate Bill 508 by Senator Dixon, the 45th, Albers, the 56th, Strickland, the 17th, Tillery, the 19th, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Title 15 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to courts, so as to provide for duties of the administrative office of the courts relative to the accessibility of certain personal information of state and federal judges, justices, and spouses thereof. This bill having referred to the Committee on Judiciary, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Representative Matt Reeves is recognized to present the bill. Representative Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm proud to present Senate Bill 508, a judicial security bill. Earlier there was mention that there's nothing that a judge hates worse than getting reversed. There actually is something a judge hates worse than getting reversed, and that's getting violently attacked or killed. Just in the last 2 years, judges in Wisconsin and Maryland were murdered by disgruntled litigants. In Nevada, someone hired a hitman to go after a judge, and then many of you have seen the video of someone jumping across the bench in Nevada to attack a judge and knock down the flag of our country in the course of attacking that judge. And in Georgia, that kind of behavior can't be tolerated, and what this bill does, it was brought from the Administrative Office of the Courts and the Judicial Council. This bill protects the private residence and contact information of judges so that people cannot intimidate them or threaten them with harm. This will keep our judges safe and support the rule of law. Mr. Speaker, I request favorable consideration. If there are no questions, I yield the well.
The gentleman has a question to your right in the back. Representative Jordan Ridley has a question. In the back, to your right. Jordan Ridley, not right. Riddle, Ridley.
All right.
Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, I do, to the Ridley with the beard, not the hat.
Is it not true that more than 30 states have passed or are considering similar laws that limit public records of addresses, telephone numbers, and other identifying personal information of judges?
The gentleman knows of what he speaks. We're a top 5 state, and so we need to get this enacted to protect the rule of law and our judges.
Gentlemen, Representative Terry Cummins has a question. To your left.
Does the gentleman
Representative, to my colleague from Cobb County, I do.
I really like this bill, but I'm wondering why it does not include the staff and the judge's office. I used to work in the judge's office years ago, and as we know from an incident that happened here in our state and what's going on, sometimes the clerks, the secretaries, and other people that are on staff, they also are subjected to personal attacks and threatening letters at home and everything else.
That's a great idea from a fellow lawyer legislator. I'm glad to work with you on that in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gentleman has no further questions.
I yield the well, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman is yielded the well. Chairman Mitchell recognized to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. SB 508, vital piece of legislation that focuses on the accessibility of certain personal information of state and federal judges. This bill aims to ensure the safety and security of our esteemed judges while upholding the principles of transparency and accountability in our justice system. Judges, of course, play a crucial role in upholding the rule of law and administering justice fairly and impartially. However, they often face threats and risks to their safety due to the nature of their work. Providing judges with the option to limit the public access to certain personal information, such as home addresses and contact details, is essential to safeguarding their privacy and security. By enacting SB 508, we are not only protecting the well-being of our judges, but also promoting the independence and effectiveness of our judiciary. Judges must be able to focus on their duties without fear of harassment, intimidation, or harm. This bill empowers them to take the necessary precautions to shield themselves and their families from potential threats. Furthermore, by granting judges this ability to control the dissemination of their personal information, we are bolstering public trust in the judiciary. The measure demonstrates our commitment to respecting the privacy rights of those who serve on the bench, while maintaining the transparency and accountability that are fundamental to a functioning democracy. The only flaw in this bill, as I see it, is that we should add state legislators to this bill. Inasmuch as this notion of swatting occurs, it would seem to be only right that we add legislators to that, but I understand that there may be a future bill coming that we may be able to entertain that. So in closing, I urge all of you to support this important piece of legislation for the benefit of our judges and the communities they serve. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I yield the well.
Gentlemen, yielded the well. We have no further speakers. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? Chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of Senate Bill 508, the yeas are 170, the nay is 1. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Members, this is Senate Bill 366 we'll take up. This will be our last general bill we'll take up today. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to Senate Bill 366?
Senate Bill 366 by Senators Huffstetler, the 52nd, Tillery, the 19th, Albers, the 56th, to be entitled an act to amend Title 2080 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to the General Assembly so as to revise provisions related to the adoption and contents of general appropriations bills. This bill having referred to the Committee on Ways and Means, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chairman Blackman is recognized to present the bill. Give the gentleman in the wheel your attention, please. Chairman Blackman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and fellow members. Bring before you Senate Bill 366, which is named the Tax Expenditures Transparency Act of 2024, and it addresses some of the findings that we looked at over last year's joint tax panel. Go through some of the provisions of the bill. Section 2 codifies a few things that are already being done in practice regarding transparency and what is available to the members on revenues and expenditures. Section 3 adds 2 audits and gives deference to those with sunsets. And in reference to those annual audits, it also includes some requested cleanup and standardization language, including some input for consideration from certain stakeholders. Section 4 establishes an official review of these audits by Senate Finance and the Ways and Means Committee. And if I may, Mr. Speaker, I just hadn't had the opportunity to thank the members of the House on that tax panel this year, but Representatives Buckner, Carpenter, Hatchett, Martin, and Williamson were really very much appreciated during that process. If there are any questions, I'll try to answer them.
You have a couple of questions to your left. Chairman Parsons has a question.
Thank you, Speaker. Gentleman yield?
Yes, sir. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Isn't it not true that this is a very good transparency bill, and that among other things, several things in it, it says that the Department of Audits will conduct at least 12 economic analyses, and the bill sets out how those will be determined.
Gentleman knows what he speaks. Thank you very much for the question.
Thank you.
Gentleman yield for another question.
I'll answer one more. Yes, sir.
Representative Clint Crow has and to your left in the back, has a question. Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Should I?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I would like for you to.
Yes, sir. I'll yield.
Isn't it true, Mr. Chairman, that this legislation will enable us to better analyze the effectiveness of various tax credits, and that's a key component of future tax reform efforts as we move forward?
I believe you said it correctly. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I'll ask for this body's favorable consideration and yield the will.
The gentleman has yielded the will. We had a speaker, but he's waived. That completes our discussion. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee's substitute? Chair hears none. The committee's substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, clerk will lock the machine on the passage of Senate Bill 366. The yeas are 170, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Members, we will take up Senate Bill 362. It will be postponed to the next legislative day, which will be Wednesday. Members, we have a couple of further actions we'll take up in just a minute, but we'll do them before we do afternoon orders. Before afternoon orders. Members, we have a couple of local bills, I think a total of 5, Mr. Clerk. 5 local bills that have gotten all of their information in, and they're properly been vetted by the committee, and they're ready to go. But in an effort to keep them moving, if there's no objection, I would like to assign those bills to intergovernmental coordination. Hearing none, it is so ordered. Thank you, members. Chair recognizes Representative Tyler Paul Smith for a motion. Are you ready, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that this House insist on its position on Senate Bill 73 and that a committee of conference be appointed.
Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption?
Senate Bill 73 by Senator Tillery, the 19th Brass, the 28th Hatch, the 50th, and others, to be entitled an Act to amend Part 1 of Article 2, Chapter 5, of Title 46, the official code of Georgia Annotated, relating the general provisions relative to telephone service.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. The House has adhered to its position. The chair appoints Representative Tyler Paul Smith of the 18th, Representative Wiedauer of the 121st, and Representative Carpenter of the 4th as a committee of conference on Senate Bill 73. For what purpose does Chairman Dickey rise?
To make a motion.
State your motion.
To allow bill read for the first time and signed to committee.
Temporarily suspend. Okay, Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption? Actually, this is a resolution, Mr. Chairman, is that right?
That is true, yes, sir.
Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption?
Unnumbered House Resolution by Representative Dickey, the 145th, and others, a resolution creating a House Study Committee on Solar Facility Development.
On the gentleman's motion that the rules of this House be temporarily suspended so a resolution can be read for the first time and assigned to committee, is there objection? Agriculture and Consumer Affairs. Okay, we'll move on to afternoon orders. Who knows, we may get another privilege resolution in, Mr. Clerk, before we get there. I want to recognize Representative Persinger, Representative New, and maybe some additional friends to come down. Members, if you will give these fine members your attention, they have a remembrance they will bring to this House. Representative Persinger.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, colleagues. We come before you today to honor a former member of this House, Mr. John Otis Mobley, who passed away this past Friday at the age of 90. He was a lifetime resident of Winder and a 1951 graduate of Winder Bear High School, where he served as a class president, senior class president. Mr. Mobley earned his bachelor's degree from the University of Georgia and his master's in education from Pepperdine University. Mr. Mobley had a servant's heart and spent his lifetime serving his Lord and his country. He retired from the U.S. Air Force after 20 years of service, earning the rank of lieutenant colonel, while working in counterintelligence for the Office of Special Investigations. After his service to his country, Mr. Mobley retired to his hometown and served on the Winder City Council and later as mayor. He then served as Bexar County State Representative from 1987 to 1996, and he was a faithful member of Corinth United Methodist Church. He was also a Gideon, a chaplain of the American Legion, and a member of the Kiwanis Club, as well as serving as board member on the Winder Hospital and the Friends of Fort Yargo State Park. And Representative New would also like to say a few words.
John is survived by his loving wife of 70 years, Shirley Fleeman Mobley of Winder, his children Danny, Cheryl, Karen, and Mike, his many grandchildren, and his great-grandchildren. I'd like to ask for a special prayer for Karen, Peyton, my niece, Rylan, and Regan. I love you guys. Members, please join me in a moment of silence in memory of a great statesman, John Mobley. Thank you.
Prayers for that family and Mr. Mobley's great service. Representative Daniel. Representative Lauren Daniels. Members, if you'll give the member in the well your attention, please. Another remembrance.
Thank y'all. This is the third time I've had to get up here this session about a member of our community that has passed away. Unfortunately, I lost the mayor of our hometown, Mayor Robert Price. He has represented our community with honor for years, and when I tell you he was proud of where he came from, I mean that. He would show people the old schoolhouse where he carved his name into the desk, and he knew nothing but Locust Grove. And so to lose him suddenly this past weekend is devastating to our community, and I just ask that you will please join me in praying for his family and our hometown. Thank you.
Thank you. Prayers for his family as well and that community. Representative Moore, Representative Angela Moore, you're recognized for an afternoon order.
Hello, colleagues and everyone. I just wanted to say that since 2021, this week, I stood right here and took my first oath of office. It is my legislative anniversary. Some of us have gotten along, some of us haven't, but it has been the honor of my life. So happy anniversary to me and District 91 for the state of Georgia.
Representative Park Cannon is recognized for an afternoon order. Representative Cannon. And friends.
Yeah. Hmm?
Who do you need, Representative Cannon?
Yep, the whip.
Oh, the whip.
Thank you.
Come on, Mr. Whip.
Sorry, that one. So today we stand here very excited celebrating the first ever Bayard Rustin Day at the Georgia State Capitol. Bayard Rustin, many of you may have heard of someone named Martin Luther King Jr., who put on a huge event, the March on Washington. But the actual organizer, the boots on the ground, was Bayard Rustin. And many of the reasons why Bayard was not put forward in the movement was because he was openly gay. And so as much as many members of the civil rights community were excited about the March on Washington, there was also still that political divide in the civil rights movement about LGBTQ leaders. So yesterday was his birthday, and at the Center for Civil and Human Rights, we all stood and sang happy birthday to him posthumously. We also were joined by his husband, Walter Nagel, who is still living and who is here present in Georgia. And so today we have some members from the organizations that support Bayard Rustin Day in the gallery, if you'll stand. And we will be presenting this resolution for the annual event that they do, which is called the Rustin Lord Breakfast. It takes place the morning of the MLK parade. So every year when the MLK parade starts, the LGBTQ leaders meet in the morning and have breakfast at the Loudermilk Center or other nearby places. So today we're just excited to celebrate in the national commemoration of Bayard Rustin's life, as well as to remind all legislators that there is an active campaign to get him a forever stamp. Just like we have been working to get John Lewis a forever stamp, there's also the Bayard Rustin campaign. And so we ask that you join it, and we thank you all for being here today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you for being here. Welcome to the People's House. Representative Hutchinson. Give the lady in the well your attention, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, colleagues. Today I bring you 10-year-old Eric. Eric is smart, loving child who enjoys playing with toy cars and trucks. One day he would like to be a car mechanic or a truck driver. He loves to read and enjoys trips to the library at school. He enjoys sports and particularly playing soccer and basketball. Eric is one of the hundreds of children who are available for adoption in Georgia. Let's spread the word that Eric needs a forever home. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Ladies yielded well. Thank you. Representatives Wilkerson, Wiedauer, Barnes, Hutchinson, Odenia, going to talk to us about the World's Cup coming to a neighborhood near you. There's the schedule. Be ready.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Hopefully you found your scarves on your desk today commemorating the FIFA World Cup coming 2026. The schedule is up on the board as you see it. Now come on down, brother. If anybody wants to join the soccer caucus, see one of us up here. But looking forward to 2026. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you. Absolutely. I was told that for a soccer match in Mercedes last weekend was the third largest crowd in the world for a soccer match that day. Absolutely. Representative Sharper, there he is. Representative Dexter Sharper has, hey, y'all give him your attention for a minute.
Thank you, Speaker, so much. But you guys, we have one of our doorkeepers. It's her birthday today. As you walk out into the very end where you're getting ready to leave out of the anteroom, I would like to say it's Miss Mary Alexander's birthday. Hold up, come in for a second if you don't mind. Right there, wave your hand, Miss Mary. It's her birthday today. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you for Miss Mary. Thank you. I have my badge on. She won't let me in without my badge on. I'll guarantee you that. And she means it. If I'm late, y'all know what the problem is. I forgot my badge. I'm looking for it. Thank you, Miss Mary. Happy birthday to you. Mr. Clerk, will you read well, that concludes our afternoon orders. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to a group of privileged resolutions?
Honoring the life and memory of Willie D. Batchelor. Honoring the life and memory of Mrs. Lois Musselwhite. Recognizing and commending the Bleckley County High School Competition Cheerleading Program. Congratulating the Bleckley High School Girls Cross Country Team for winning the 2023 Class 1A Division I State Cross Country Championship. Recognizing and commending Caleb Dorsey and winning the 2023 Class 1A Division I Boys Individual State Cross Country Championship. Recognizing and commending University System of Georgia Outstanding Scholars on Academic Recognition Day for 2024. Recognizing and commending Ray Carter. Recognizing and commending Grace M. Lopez Williams. Recognizing and commending Antonio Molina. Recognizing March 20th, 2024 as Trailblazing Women in Georgia Day. And for other purposes, that completes the reading of the privilege resolution.
Is there any objection to adopting the privilege resolution? The chair hears none, and the resolutions are adopted. Okay, members, listen up. We'll have some announcements now. Now, this may help some of you with your announcement. We're going to push all committee meetings after lunch back 1 hour. 1 hour. So if you had a 1 o'clock, that meeting will begin at 2, and so on and so forth as the meetings go on through the afternoon. All committee meetings will push back 1 hour. Thank you for your attention this morning. We have a few announcements, and if you have a page, I invite you to come down front as soon as we adjourn for page photos. Representative Gamble, recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, on the fellowship will meet on Wednesday this week instead of Tuesday. So if you show up tomorrow, you'll be praying by yourself. So we'll meet Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. in Capitol 132. Thank you.
Chairman Corbett, recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Motor Vehicles Committee will meet in the morning, 8 o'clock, room 606. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Tran, recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The CAB delegation, we do have a meeting today in room 514 upon adjournment. Again, the CAB delegation, we do have a meeting today in room 514. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Leader F. Stration is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There will be a committee chairman's lunch in room 403 upon the break. Committee chairman's lunch, room 403.
Chairman Hawkins. I guess I covered his announcement. Chairman Chokus, recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Small Business Development Committee will be meeting Wednesday morning at 8 a.m., 506 CLOB. Wednesday morning, 8 a.m., 506 CLOB. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Jasmine Clark is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of GLBC, we will be having a seafood lunch and learn downstairs in CAP 230 from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock p.m. Seafood lunch and learn, CAP 230. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Give your attention to the gentleman approaching the well. Representative Chairman Saines has a very important announcement. Very important.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's time for us to continue our record of winning against the lower chamber across the hall. Tomorrow will be the annual kickball tournament at Georgia Stadium from starting at 5 o'clock, led by our fearless coach, Speaker John Burns. If you haven't signed up, you got an email on it. The sign-up sheet's also on my desk, on my computer if you'd like to sign up now. We got a great team ahead of us and look forward to another year winning.
Player coach, I'm playing this year. Y'all wouldn't let me play last year. I'm playing this year. And the trophy is in my office that we won last year. So y'all come on down. We will have cheerleaders and everything else, won't we? Chairman Dickey, recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have our Agricultural and Consumer Affairs Committee meeting tomorrow at 9 o'clock, 606 CLOB. We've got a couple bills to hear. Thank you.
That concludes our announcements. Where is Representative Davis? Representative Viola Davis. There she is right there. She's another year younger today. Happy birthday. Oh, tomorrow. You can celebrate 2 days. Happy birthday to you. I think that concludes our business for the day. Don't forget page photos. The majority leader of this House is recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that this House stand in recess until 4 o'clock p.m. today, then stand adjourned until 10 a.m. on Wednesday, March 20th, 2024.
Before I accept that motion, I got that 4 o'clock. We just learned that Representative Doreen Carter's birthday is tomorrow as well. Happy birthday. 2 of them on the same day. On the motion of the majority leader, this House stand in recess until 4 p.m. today and then be adjourned until tomorrow, Wednesday, March the 20th, 2024 at 10 a.m., Wednesday, March the 20th. All those in favor of the motion will say aye. All those opposed will say no. Wasn't even close. The ayes have it.